Hi everyone, I hope to find you in very great spirits today. If this is your first time in my channel, welcome. My name is Yours, and in today's video, I wanted to discuss with you a few books that I have read lately that have very dysfunctional families and very dysfunctional family drama. Now, I think this is very interesting to talk about because it can be very relatable. And, when you're reading a book, sometimes, the whole purpose is not only to have a good time, but also what we can learn from it. Sometimes, writings and the stories that we read, they are just a kind of reflection of what's out there in society. So it gives us a little glimpse into the lives of others, these fictional characters, and telling us what not to do and how not to behave. So this is the case. If this is something that interests you, then just stick around for a little bit and I'll give you just a brief description of what these books are. And the first book that I read was Calling a Blanket Dance. And I'm going to put a picture of the book so you can see the name and the last name of the author. And this book was extremely unpretentious. The writing is extremely simple, is in very colloquial terms, and is very compelling and very strong in imagery. And we see here the life of Ever is a mixed race man. His mother is Native American and his father was Mexican, but also he decides to live in the Native American compound of around in and on around the Oklahoma area. Ever as a troublesome teenager, he grows up with a lot of issues because he grew up in a lot of in a lot of impoverished areas, and also seeing the physical abuse that her mother suffered in the hands of his father. So he grows up very angry and with not a lot of sense of who he is, where he belongs. Is he Mexican? Is he Native American? Is he American? So his perception of oneself is a bit distorted. But as he grows up and he goes through a lot of circumstances in life, police officers, drug dealing, robbery, not finishing school, going to the military, going back and dealing with a relationship that was completely toxic, in which he has to come and save his children. We get a glimpse not only from his point of view, but also his family point of view of how life and society can be in your community. So Ever wants to come and he wants to, despite of all his shortcomings and all the things that he lacks, he comes to a point as an adult where he wants to come into society and do something helpful for others. He wants to be a rock and he wants to instruct teenagers and young children that are in need, so they can find the guidance and the right path that maybe when he was growing up he didn't have that strong support or that strong presence in his life that could lead him towards better decisions. So it's a very sweet story, very compelling. Calling a blanket dance because a blanket is comforting, it's warmth. It gives you, it gives you a sense of warmth and feeling nice and rested. So in a way, that's what Ever wants to be, not only for his family as he breaks cycles of abuse and destitution and lack of hope, but also to the young people in the community center that he's trying to help. So it is a wonderful story and a book or audiobook if you decide to pick it up, that it will give you a lot of hope, and it will leave you thinking as well. The other book that also has kind of a very strange family dynamics is How to Sell a Haunted House by Gady Hendrix, I think is the last name of the author. And here we find Louise. Louise is a Korean woman, but after the tragic death of both of her parents, she has to see herself trying to go back to her town. But as she has to deal with, the house and the family relatives and her brother, she also starts to discover that there's a lot of ghosts and skeletons in the family home, especially pertaining to her mother. So her mother also came from a very strange family. The family dynamic was broken because of the death of the mother's older sibling, Freddie, and the mother's name is Nancy. So once Freddie passed away, being very young, um, her parents kind of blamed her for not keeping an eye on her brother, but that affected her for the rest of her life. And when it was her turn to have children, the whole ghost thing kind of um, affects her in many ways. So How to Sell a Haunted House is not about the house, it's about the ghost and the ghost possession that affected not only Nancy's parents but also Nancy's household, and now trying to pass on this curse ghost onto Louise. So Louise has to battle the ghost and the family history and bring an end and peace to all this, so then she can move on with her life and, try to have a very nice relationship with her brother and her daughter. So it was not a 4-star book, but it was creepy at times. The twists and turns at the end made it very compelling. It's not very long, it's about 340 pages, so I think it's worth reading. If you want to wait until, I would say, October or a creepy time to read it, then do so, but it's not that scary, so you can go ahead and do it. The next book that I truly enjoy was Learning Not to Drown by Anna Shinoda, and I hope you can see this. And I love this book, even though it's a YA. It's heartwarming, it's enticing, it's uplifting, just as Calling a Blanket Dance. And here we see the story of Claire. Claire is 17 years old, but her family has a habit of not discussing family affairs. The mother is very stubborn and into her ways. So, even though they are three siblings, the older brother is a troublemaker, has been in and out of prison for many years. Even though he loves the siblings and the parents and all that kind of stuff, but he has a drug addiction, and he has an alcohol problem as well, and that is a snowball that takes him to do very bad things, and all those consequences have to be shielded by the family. And Claire is completely fed up with that. Claire wants to and is in highly desperate need of finding her own self, breaking ties with her parents, and move on. Claire is a good girl. She has good grades, she has good friends, she works, she tries to do the right thing, but the parents always try to drag her down with her bad decisions, and also her older brother. So the whole conclusion of this book was very uplifting, with Claire again breaking that cycle of toxicity and breaking that cycle of hopelessness and trying to carve a path for herself. If you are a teenager or if you like YA, give this book a chance because it is really good. Um, Another book, and sorry, I'm just looking at my list so I don't miss anything. Another book that I highly enjoy and that I just talked about was Tell Me One Thing by Karen Schlossman. And like I said, Tell Me One Thing is just a 5 star. We see a dual timeline with two main characters, Queen and Lulu. Lulu is a minor in the 80s when the whole story starts to unravel in front of us, and Queen is a street photographer. For this purpose, we're going to talk about Lulu because Lulu's story is very compelling and very strong. Lulu is a very strong woman and she's very loyal and she knows who to protect and when and how. Even though she doesn't trust her mother and her mother has not been the greatest example in the world because of drug problems and because of prostitution issues, but Lulu tries to make the best of it and she tries to stay loyal and give a hand when she can. And even though Lulu inherit a lot of traits from her mother, traits like selling her body and selling drugs to leave. And, she quit school and she goes into juvenile detention because she stands up for another girl that is also sent into the foster care system for her. But standing up for that friend sends her to juvenile detention. But even so, Lulu, as she grows older, she finds a way of redeeming herself. And the biggest turning point is when she loses custody of her son. So she tries, you know what, I'm gonna stay clean. I'm gonna try to do the best I can. If I have to scrub floors, I'm gonna scrub floors. If I need to work in Burger King, I'm gonna work in Burger King, but I'm going to try to be the best I can be within my circumstances, because the only gem that I have was my son, and my son was taken away from me. And even though the book has an open ending, it's kind of very hopeful and very positive. So, it gives you a very nice portrayal of, you know, the ambience, the political ambience, and the social issues that we experience, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So it's a fantastic story. So if you have a chance to get this book, please read it because I loved it. Another book that was also very troublesome, but also very beautiful in its own way, was Unsettled Ground by Claire Fuller. And Unsettled Ground brings the story of twins, Ginny and Julius. And the world is completely upside down when their mother passes away all of the sudden. And they find themselves alone. And they don't know what to do. They have no money, they have no school, they have no skills. They are 50 years old, and what they do is just a little bit of handiwork here and there and a little bit of farming, but they have never been trained in anything else. But what happens with the mother's death is that they start discovering a lot of things that were not normal, a lot of secrets that the mother was hiding from them, meaning, the true reality of what happened with their father's death. Their father died when they were 12 years old. So, why their father died, under what circumstances, and the circumstances that he passed away were completely a lie. Also, the character of her mother painted a picture of her to them that was completely false, and she hindered their future, their opportunities, because the twins are very, very smart people. They're very crafty. They Ginny loves the land and she loves landscaping and she loves farming, and they play instruments and they sing, and they're very, very talented. But their mother's ignorance and their mother's selfishness completely hold them back, unbeknownst to them. So once they find themselves with no money, no house. They're being evicted from their home, and they find themselves into the street, living in the street, doing nothing, and being attacked and bullied by others, taking the very small few possessions that they have being taken away from them. Is very eye opening, and it touches your heart in a way that is like it makes you strive to be a better person and to do the right thing and not to tell lies and to be forthcoming. But Unsettled Ground gives us the point of view that lies are never good. Creating a fictitious life is never good because it can affect others, it can hurt others. So, accountability is very, very important. So, if I learned anything about all these books that I have discussed with you today, is that lies, accountability, selfishness is something that is in all of us, but it's completely up to us what we take, what we move forward with in life, and how we can do better to strive, be better humans, be better family members, better friends. So, if you have any opportunity to read any of these books, please do so because they were fantastic. And as always, this is all for me. I hope you have anything useful from this video and that you enjoy it, give you any kind of motivation to pick any of these books up, either in physical form or an audiobook. So until our next encounter, I hope you truly enjoy yourself. Have a great day, and until our next video, bye bye.